This can be accessed later and shared later. It looks like we have about 18 attendees, which is great. And a number of presenters who will introduce themselves in a couple minutes, or really a minute. As y'all hopefully know, this is the Women in Housing Kickoff meeting. We're scheduled to go for about an hour. If you need to cut out early, like I said, it will be shared so you won't miss anything. And I'm sure our leaders, so Melinda and Paige specifically, will be happy to answer questions via email after this. So I'm going to turn this over to Melinda or Paige, depending on who's presenting first. Then we'll go from there. Really quickly, also, please make sure you're muted. If you have questions, there is a chat box where you can enter questions in. I think that what you want to do is make sure that when you send them, that you're sending them to all panelists and attendees. And you'll know that because there's a little arrow and a drop down. Okay? All right, so I'm going to pass it to Paige and Melinda.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We know that you are taking time out of your busy schedule to learn more about the Women in Housing Network. And so thank you again for joining this kickoff meeting. And we're excited to share some of the things that we have planned for this group. Melinda?
Yeah, so to share a little bit about what we hope to cover today. So we'll be doing some introductions, then we're going to hand it over to a special guest to talk about the research poster sessions at AC&E. We'll go over our goals and then talk with you about opportunities for you to be involved, in addition to some additional happenings at the annual conference and expo, and then talk a little bit about what is next.
So I can go first with the sharing of who we are. This picture was taken when we went to the volunteer summit at the central office. And so one of the first things we did was we got on Facebook and we're like, let's introduce ourselves to everyone. So hello again. So my name is Paige Hicks. I'm a residence life coordinator at the University of South Florida. I serve our Greek population within our housing portfolio. It's my 3rd year here and I'm excited to serve. Just some of the reasons why I'm currently serve as the chair-elect for the Women Housing Network. And the reason why I applied, I just thought that there was an opportunity for my passions around service and leadership for women to converge. And so I'm excited for the things that we are sharing with you all and the things that you can bring to this team as well.
Good deal. Thank you, Paige. And I'm Melinda Carlson. I currently serve as Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs and Dean of Residence Life and Student Housing at SMU in Dallas, Texas. And similar to Paige, I saw this as a way to be able to serve the association and its members in an area around that's an area of passion for me already. And so I think the community of women that we have in this field is fierce and is powerful. And I think we can do amazing things and continue to do amazing things. So that's why I am involved. And I heard Paige was involved. So that's another reason.
All right. We are going to move on to talk about the research poster series. And so to give context to the folks that may not know, the Kauai Women in Housing Network and the Kauai Research Committee, we've teamed up to host the 6th annual research poster series at the Kauai conference this summer. And so today we have Dr. Jenna Hyatt with us. She is the Associate Dean of Student Living at Central Washington. And so she works extensively with the Women in Housing Network to share application information, updates with this group. So we'll go ahead and pass the mic off to Dr. Hyatt.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I appreciate it. This is Jenna, and it is definitely a hallmark of the work that has been done. We're going into our 4th year. What has been done with the research committee, where we came together 5 years ago and said, we would definitely like to see a lot more at our annual conference that informs the association and its members with regard to research that is happening. At the beginning, we focused on research that informed us more directly with relation to gender, and really broaden that with regard to sessions that are happening at the annual meeting, but also ones that weren't picked up. So we actually run our poster research poster like process after individuals have been notified if they are picked up to present at the annual conference. And we do that intentionally so that we can net the members of our association that maybe did not get their presentation picked up. So that's one of the, like, I guess, tunnels that we go to recruit and say that you definitely submitted a great abstract. While it maybe isn't picked up to have a formal presentation, this is another avenue to get the work that you're doing up and around. And so I want to just introduce the concept of this, because we have a few nuances to it this year. One is that if you look at the picture, you can see that instead of just how we have had it for a few years, where it was just we would print the poster board for you and you would have it on an easel. We've definitely professionalized the actual poster, research poster, to be on a more a larger scale, as you can see in the pictures, much more professional, and it's up throughout the entire conference. The second thing is this is the first year, you do not have to actually have to attend the conference to have a research poster. And that's a big deal. We also recruit for individuals that have initiatives or programs or events or collaboration venues to be able to present a poster. So it's not necessarily that it's pure research that one might be doing in a master's program or a doctoral program, but we're really much broader than that. And we want this type of venue to share, again, the knowledge that's happening within the association to inform. And so we really help with the development of the components of the research poster. We have templates, we have tutorials, and we really help each person develop what they need to send us for creating the actual research poster. The other thing is when you go to apply, you don't have to have it fully formed yet, because we're going to help walk you through that. So our hope, and especially with the goals of our women's network, is that we're trying to definitely gather and garner, which we'll get to the next slide. But just preempting that is that when we look at knowledge and resources and education and influencing the academy and higher education about the ways that we understand students, we understand their living experience, we understand how an operation can deliver on a residential experience, everything that's happening in support of our students and educating the rest of our campuses for the housing and residence life. This is just a wonderful way to do that. We see a lot of presentations also that focus on a very specific topic, very micro topic, to a broader one that is within several institutions or presenters that come together. So my whole point, in short, would be that I really hope that you look into what we're offering here as an opportunity to educate the association, that if you've never done a research poster, we're here to help you with that and make it very really accessible and attainable, and that you share this out widely. And the link, while it's on this site, it is all accessible on the Kuhuai main site. If you just go into the search and put in 2020 research poster, it'll come up and it walks you through all the steps. And as you can see, in terms of deadlines, we're 6 weeks, 7 weeks out. So it shouldn't hopefully be too much of a burden in terms of time if folks are interested in that. So thoughts, questions that I can field? If not, I will go ahead and mute myself.
Thank you so much, Jen. I think that's valuable information, and it is an exceptional way for folks to be involved. So please direct all your questions towards Jenna, type them on here. We'll answer them as best we can. This next slide really goes over our goals for the coming year. So when Paige and I were in Columbus with our partners at Kuhuai in the central office at the Volunteer Summit, which was an amazing opportunity to get to know the other leaders in the association as well, we were encouraged to set some goals, and we worked really hard to tie those goals to the 4 strategic goals within ACUOI, as well as the guiding principles. So the screen that you're looking at has our goals for this next year categorized under those 4 strategic goals of the association, and then the guiding principles listed below in terms of the way in which we hope to accomplish those. So Paige, do you want to go ahead and start with these?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about our goal around education. And so there is a big focus on how do we collaborate with other networks that are doing instrumental work as well. So our first one, we know that we want to focus on learning and growing as a collective and collaborating. So some of the strategies that we can use to meet our goals around education is to first host webinars. And so we were talking about what are some of the priorities that we believe that this network would have. And we thought about sponsorship versus mentorship, and how do you access those spaces, and even parenting as a professional. Something else we talked about was exploring mentorship opportunities. And so at the summit, we were able to talk to the Professionals of Color Network. And so we're going to be doing some joint work about how do we set up a mentorship program where we're able to pair people together with certain learning goals, so people are able to learn something from that mentorship experience. And then again, our poster session, which we just learned about.
Great. And then when we thought about knowledge resources, one of the things that we thought could be powerful for those of us in the profession across the world really is to share those resources that we all find. And you'll see a little bit of an example of one of them that came from the American Council on Education. Resources that are specifically tied to women in the workforce. Things like the McKinsey report on women in the workforce. There's one from, I think they've been doing those since 2015, that shows the different statistics around women in the workforce. But anytime we come across a resource that we think would be powerful to share with our colleagues and good information, we want to make sure that we have a place to do that. So updating the portal with women in housing information and resources that folks can pull from as they need to. So pertinent articles, different websites maybe that people find, or even maybe presentations that are focused on gender and how we might be able to share those. Additionally, we'd like to create a toolkit for regional conferences, so that as we have members of the network at the regional conferences, they have a toolkit where they can host receptions or talk about the network and encourage others to get involved as well.
Great. Our next goal is around influential leadership and advocacy. And so we want to identify opportunities within the network for folks to cultivate and develop leadership skills. So on the next slide, we're going to talk about ways for people to lead and serve within this network. But some other strategies we're going to utilize to accomplish our goal in this area. We're going to do a lot of outreach to women in leadership within ACUOI. We would like for folks to share, like, essentially their pearls of wisdom. What is advice? What are things that you wish you would have known that we can share and take from that table? And we also want to be intentional on giving them space so we can ask questions, and we can also digest that information and give us an opportunity to learn and grow from each other. We also talked about having a focus on inclusivity. And so we want to be intentional on engaging and learning from women who hold marginalized identities, such as being a woman of color, and also thinking about our folks who identify as LGBTQIA. And then finally, we want to collaborate with our PPC, which is the Public Policy Advisory Committee, and how do we think strategically on how to advance the needs and interests of women who work within our profession.
And then finally, under community, we really want to have a stronger presence, not just on the Facebook group, which I think is important, and we have a lot of members there, but how do we maybe utilize some other social media strategies to help build community, since we are across the globe in this network of women in housing. So utilizing social media, how do we interact with the ACUOI accounts to highlight different women in the field and make that a more consistent practice of ours. And again, the mentoring opportunities and collaboration with other networks. And I think we can't say enough how important those collaborations are, in particular in terms of being mindful of how our identities intersect and how that can be helpful for so many folks in the field to be able to connect on all of those different levels. So mentoring opportunities and collaboration with other networks, the Women in Housing reception at the annual conference, and you will hear a little more about that a little later. And then we'd also like to emphasize national and international celebrations of women, within Women's History Month, Women's Equity Day in Canada, also focusing on the international celebrations of women, and culturally, what does that mean for our field for women in housing in other countries as well, as we focus on that I of Aku'ai.
All right, and so with thinking about all of our goals, we were like, this is great, and we can accomplish all of these things on our own. And so this is where leaning in within the network to help us accomplish these goals is going to be helpful. And so Melinda and I were talking, and we think it'll be beneficial to create subcommittees. And so when we're thinking about our goal of education and engagement, participating in or leading a subcommittee is an opportunity that folks can gather around. So our first subcommittee is around that engagement and outreach piece. And so thinking about different ways we can utilize social media to engage our members. So we know we have a robust platform on Facebook, but what are other things that we can do to make sure that folks feel involved and invested within our network? And then we've pulled we've highlighted special days that really honors the work and experiences of women. And so how can we use those national recognized days to think about how we engage the network as well?
Good. And then under marketing and communications, that subcommittee, and Paige and I will each work most closely with two of these. So we'll kind of split these committees up, and two of them will have consistent contact with me, and two will have consistent contact with Paige, so that we can all work together to reach those goals. We thought that might have been the most efficient way to manage through all of this. So the Marketing and Communications Subcommittee, there was a series started by the Women in Housing Network a few years ago called Talk About It, where it was a short video that women in housing would do just to talk about their experience and as a woman in the field and what that has been like for them. And then those were uploaded on a YouTube channel. You actually could search for that now, and you'd be able to find some of our colleagues talking about their experience being a woman in housing. We'd like to revive that. And I think that having that particular committee, the Marketing and Communications Subcommittee, work on that would be a good thing. And then in addition, participating with the I Make Campus Home media campaign that you see in the talking stick and also online. So I think those are a couple ways that we can work on that through this subcommittee.
Great. Our next subcommittee is our education subcommittee. And so we talked a little bit about the research poster series, and so we will be giving them a little bit more information on how we can collaborate and engage folks with helping us. And additionally, we're going to be identifying articles and resources to add to the Aku'ai portal. This is a great way for us to hone in on utilizing like our scholar practitioner lens to find data, research, and articles that can help us grow as a network that we can also share. So we'll be sharing that on our social media. We'll be utilizing the Aku'ai portal as well. And then the last thing the subcommittee would be responsible for is helping with our ACE panel. And so Melinda's going to talk about our ACE panel on our next slide, but there's an opportunity to help us really tap on leaders within the Aku'ai network to share pearls of wisdom with us. And so what do those questions look like? Who should we tap on? And so I'm really excited for the things that the education subcommittee is going to be able to do.
And then finally, membership development subcommittee. So we really want to hear from the membership. What are those topics that women in housing want to hear about. What are those topics we want to make sure we focus on a webinar, and who are the people that we'd like to hear from regarding those topics. And we think the membership has a wealth of knowledge and talent in that area, and we want to hear from you on that. So you'll find out in a minute how you can give us some information that you think we need to hear. This subcommittee would also work with the regional toolkits that we mentioned on the previous slide, and then also help getting the mentor matching and the mentor program set up along with some of the other networks within Akuhawai. And then, so the conference and expo. So if you have not registered, and if that's something that your professional development dollars will allow you to do at your institution, I would encourage you to do so soon. I think the early registration rate, I believe that's sometime in early April when that closes. But check the website so that you have all the right information. But in addition to the research poster session, there are two things happening at the annual conference that we would love to see all of you attend, as well as bring your friends and anyone that you think would be interested in the Women in Housing Network. We have a reception that'll be Sunday, June 28th from 5 to 6:15. That will be in the program schedule. And so when you arrive, look for that. And we hope that you attend. We hope to have really good attendance and even better hors d'oeuvres. And then in addition to that, a panel discussion. This was something that we are incredibly thankful that there was room for, as we asked very, very late to be able to do this. So at the last program session, session 10, which is on Tuesday the 30th, from 2 to 2:50, we will be having a panel discussion with women in leadership. And so we would love to hear who you'd like to hear from. But we hope to have some very seasoned professionals, a diverse group of women in housing sitting on this panel, where we will have some questions curated already to have them respond to, as well as give folks in attendance the opportunity to ask questions about being a woman in leadership in this field, what that has been like, what have been the most salient lessons learned, and all of those things, I think, and an opportunity for us to be in community with each other. So mark your calendars for that as well. Paige, do you have anything you want to add to either of those?
Oh, that was great. I hope to see everyone.
Good.
All right, so now you're probably wondering what is next. And so at this time, we're looking for folks that are interested in serving and also leadership. And so we've shared a rough outline of our goals with you all, and they'll continue to develop and evolve as we add more voices and more seats to the table. But we also know that we can't accomplish these goals alone. So the QR code that you see on your screen, if you have a cell phone, maybe you can take a picture of it, or you can visit the bit.ly link that is at the bottom. It's going to take you to a Qualtrics survey where you can express your interest in serving and or leading a subcommittee. So there's an opportunity to work on as many subcommittees as you would like, and there's also an opportunity for leadership for folks to express interest on, I would love to maybe lead the education subcommittee. And so we're just asking questions about what are you interested in and why, and how will you motivate and engage other professionals. We would love to if folks can fill that out, that would be great. We would love to let people know where they're at, either on the subcommittee or leading a subcommittee by the first week of March. We have an aggressive timeline because we have audacious goals and we want to accomplish them. And we want to work with motivated and passionate professionals who have an interest in helping the Women in Housing Network. Melinda, you have anything to add?
No, I think this is great. And just, I think on the form as well, there's an opportunity to give us some ideas on what you might like to see in terms of webinars or content moving forward. So please express that for us as well. I think this is an outstanding opportunity. One of the things that, I guess, a tertiary reason we wanted to be sure and build subcommittees into the Women in Housing Network is because we'd love for this work to be sustainable. Other than being engaged in the Facebook group and knowing a little bit about what was going on and attending the receptions, before being in this role, that was probably the extent of my involvement. And I think if we can set up pathways for folks to move into the chair-elect and the chair role and people to be involved at a little bit deeper level, I think that we will be able to develop some sustainability for the network, and our reach will even be able to be greater.
Great. So on our next screen, we have our contact information and also the opportunity for questions. I did see we had a question from someone asking telling us that they couldn't see the screen. And so yes, this PowerPoint will be sent to you via email. And so everyone will be able to even click on the link within the PowerPoint to fill out the Qualtrics survey. Do we have any other questions that we would like to ask during this time? I believe we have like maybe 5 to 10 minutes for questions.
Oh, and thank you also to whomever let us know about the registration for ACUOI, the dates that were in that chat screen. So if you're curious about what the dates for early registration are, just take a look at the chat screen and those are in there as well. So thank you for that. Okay, and I think Jenna had to leave, but are we able to see research posters that have been previously showcased at ACUOI? I don't know, Holly, if that's something that you can answer, if that's, if there's a clearinghouse where those are stored, that we might be able to see that. But I think, Courtney, we could certainly get back with you on that if we don't know the answer to that today.
Yeah, so people have to submit their actual posters, if you will, because we actually have our vendor kind of create them into a nice display. So we have to have that file somewhere is the short answer. The other part of the answer is that we probably need to connect them to Jenna and or the research committee, which really kind of moves those things along. That would be where that information is. So let's connect with Jenna and get that out.
Okay. So Courtney, I'm writing your name down and we'll make sure we can get you connected to Jenna Hyatt and the research team so that you've got that. Oh, so Carolyn let us know they are also in the ACUOI library. Thank you. And a plug to volunteer at ACUOI. Absolutely a great way to connect to other folks. Well, good deal. You all have been great. I know there are numerous ways you could have spent some time this afternoon, and I'm glad that you chose to spend that with us as we share with you our excitement for the Women in Housing Network and let you know about the goals and ways you can be involved. I look forward to seeing many of you fill out the Qualtrics survey so that we know how to plug you in, and with working with many of you in the future. I'm excited for this, and I think we'll do really good work and it will be a lot of fun.
Yes. Our last question, I did receive a question around the link to sign up. That link or the Qualtrics surveys for both, if you want to serve on the committee and if you're interested in leading a subcommittee as well.
Good. So without any further questions, I think that's all we have to share for today. I know that was a quick one, about 30 minutes of the hour that we had scheduled, so you're welcome. No. But thank you all for being on here with us, and we look forward to moving the initiatives forward with all of you.
Yes.
And thank you so much to Holly for getting all of this set up and handling all of the logistics for this. So Holly Stapleton is our contact with the ACUOI, and that has been incredibly helpful. So thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon, everybody.
Bye.